Coming up on today's show, we have some unfortunate news to share that you might have already seen revolving around Bernie Kosar and his health. Then we're going to look at PFF's One Move for Cleveland before training camp. But a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 35,000 subscribers before training camp, 15 days away. We've got some work to do, get some meat on that bone. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more daily updates. Now, I wish I had some good news to share with you guys today. If you haven't seen already, Bernie Kosar shared with the world today that he is suffering from liver failure and early signs of Parkinson's disease. He is in need of a liver transplant. Now, I'm no doctor, and I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor on today's show, but that's clearly something very scary for anyone to go through. Bernie, 60 years old, and played, of course, quarterback for the Browns, if you don't know, from 85 to 93. In an article from, I believe it was a Cleveland magazine, there was a quote from Dr. Anthony Post, who had this to say on Bernie: liver disease does tend to fluctuate. So he's on that wave thing where it goes up and down. He's in a good phase right now, but anything bad could happen. Now, Dr. Anthony Post also wanted to say one of his doctors, Dr. Michael Roizen, Chief Wellness Officer of Cleveland Clinic, says there is more than a 90% chance that Kosar will need a new liver. Post agrees he'll likely need the surgery eventually. So, obviously, really sad and really scary news for, of course, Bernie and his entire family to receive today, or to share today, I should say. And just thinking of Bernie at this time, right? The guy's an absolute legend for Cleveland sports. The way he embodied and embraced the city, you don't see that from every athlete that comes through Cleveland. And this is a rabid fan base that loves their players and loves their teams and attaches themselves to players that embrace the city of Cleveland. And Bernie Kosar is on the Mount Rushmore of players that fully embraced and grabbed the bulls by the horn when it came to being a Cleveland sports athlete. So I want to show Bernie some love. Type his jersey number 19 if he happens to come across this video. I like to think that if he saw 119s down below, it'd be really encouraging for him. So, Bernie, we're all thinking of you. We're all pulling for you. We're all praying for you. We're hoping for the best. And hopefully, whether it's a liver transplant or some other good news comes down the pipeline, that's all what we're thinking of right now, Bernie. So thank you for everything you've done for this fan base. And this fan base is going to stand by you and stick by you and support you during these really tough times. We'll switch gears and we'll talk about Pro Football Focus next on the show, as they had a one-move suggestion for all 32 teams. And for the Browns, it was bring in more cornerback depth. Now, here is what Thomas Valentine from PFF wrote. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, and Martin Emerson Jr. are locked in as starters. But beyond them, there is concern. While Cameron Mitchell showed some flashes in his rookie season and Justin Hardy was signed in free agency, more talent is needed. Experienced players like Xavier Howard and Adoree Jackson are out there, as are cheaper options like Akella Witherspoon. So let's start to break down this idea of adding another corner or needing to add another corner. And I think the first place we want to look at is, how about the Browns' own backyard? Like what the Browns currently have cooking on their roster. Because like Thomas pointed out, the Browns have three surefire starters in Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, and Greg Newsome. So the question really is, do the Browns need some help at depth? And they've got Cam Mitchell, fifth-round pick last year out of Northwestern. They drafted Miles Harden from South Dakota. They added Justin Hardy, who's more of a special teamer. And they've also got some players that were on the roster last year. Khalifa Hilase, they claimed him off the waiver wire on cut day from the Kansas City Chiefs. Vincent Gray. Sure, this is a Browns cornerback room that I think is really strong from top to bottom, maybe more so on the top side of things, but you can't put together an Avenger squad in every single NFL room. Like, there are going to be some spots where you may not have the deepest position. And while cornerback is not one of those spots you want to be at, they have three really good starters, and I do like players on their bench. Just because they don't have six caliber starting players on their roster does not mean it's a bad cornerback room. But there is a lot of truth to the Browns cornerback room has dealt with the injury bug more than other spots. Denzel Ward, unfortunately, has missed 20% of games in his NFL career. Greg Newsome not far behind, missing 19% of games. Martin Emerson has only missed one game. That one game was Week 18 against the Bengals, where all the starters sat. So pretty much Martin Emerson has not missed a game in his career. But the question is, can the Browns really rely on players like Cameron Mitchell and others to step up if an injury occurs? Or do they need to turn to free agency now just in case, when you can make a pretty solid bet that between Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome, just based on their history, one of the two of them is going to miss some time. And it might be more than just a game or two. Now, Cam Mitchell was a fifth-round draft pick out of Northwestern last year. He started 3 games as a rookie. He played in 13, recorded 18 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, a sack, and 2 pass breakups. My point to the PFF folks is the Browns have drafted very well at cornerback under Andrew Berry. Martin Emerson, home run pick. Greg Newsome is a solid starting corner. Sure, he may not be some perennial Pro Bowler, but for being the 26th overall pick in the draft, that's not too far off from what you can expect, which is a guy who's been a day one starter for you 3 years into his career. And then you toss in Cam Mitchell, who we didn't see a whole lot of last year, but when we did see him, outside of one drop pick 6 against the Seahawks, which would have won the game, he was a really strong, reliable backup corner. Like, I think the Browns have done a good job of drafting corners between Emerson, Newsome, and Cameron Mitchell. After drafting Miles Harden out of South Dakota State or in South Dakota in round 7 this year, why not have a little bit more faith in your recent draft picks in Mitchell and Harden? Since it worked so well with the first two in Newsome and Emerson, I think you've got good reason to believe that the other picks they made can also be reliable backups, because that's all you're looking for here. You're not looking for a new starting cornerback. I'm looking for good backup cornerbacks. That was the request from PFF, more depth. And I'm willing to wager on the picks the Browns have made at the cornerback position. Now, the 3 guys that were signaled out, Xavier Howard, Adoree Jackson, Ahkello Witherspoon, I put their stats from last year on screen for you guys. My opinion, and there's a lot of numbers that back it up, the best of the bunch was Ahkello Witherspoon. Pro Football Focus ranked him 69th, nice, out of 127 qualifying corners. He had 3 interceptions, 14 pass breakups. His first true season as being a starter from week 1 to week 18, staying healthy. If there's anyone to sign, I think it would be Ahkello Witherspoon, because I think he's the best of the 3 at this present moment, and I think he'd be the cheapest of the 3. So I'm not going to say no to adding some more depth at a cornerstone position like corner, where the Browns have shown they never feel like they can have enough cornerbacks. It's just such an important position that if you get caught with your pants down because of a couple of injuries and you got a short week on Thursday Night Football, that can be the thing that makes or breaks you. And in a 17-game season, you just can't afford to chalk games up to, we were injured and we didn't have enough backups. Like, those are the types of games that keep you out of the playoffs. So I won't say no to adding a corner. I don't think Xavier Howard is going to come over to be a backup cornerback. My guess is he's going to want to go somewhere where he can start. That's definitely not happening in Cleveland. Now, sure, beggars can't be choosers, but I don't think that one's in the cards. Witherspoon would not be opposed, especially because he could play a little bit of safety as well. So you get some versatility out of him as well. Like I was saying earlier, though, what about Miles Harden? Like, if you want more cornerback depth, I don't think you have to turn to free agency. I think you can turn to your own locker room. Miles Harden, a 7th-round draft pick out of South Dakota. He was a 4-year starter for them. He could have transferred to a bigger program, but he was called loyal and wanted to stay. And in this day and age of college football, call me a boomer, I like to see some loyalty out of players, right? Guys are constantly entering the transfer portal, and not to go on a college football tangent here, but you got to wonder in a few years when they're past their football playing days, are they going to look back and kind of regret going to 3 different colleges and not having an opportunity to call one home and go back as an alum when they've got 3 different jerseys hanging in their man cave? Now, he was a outside corner for South Dakota, but you got to also factor in that in college, when it comes to corners, you put your best guy outside. That's not always going to translate over to the NFL. So with the fluidity he has, I could see him playing more of a nickel in the NFL. In his career, he did battle some injuries that cost him 2 season-ending injuries, 2021 and 2022. So he missed some time, but in 29 games played, he had 26 pass breakups, 6 interceptions, and 5 forced fumbles. The guy was a ball hawk. He was a takeaway machine. My gut feeling, though, is the Browns' cornerbacks this year, they're going to ball out. Like last year, we got our first real taste of this trio coming together and playing alongside one another for a long period of time. Now, Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome did miss some time last year, but I think we're going to see Ward, Emerson, Newsome really come into their own, and more so for Newsome and Emerson, as we know what Ward is capable of. But I think this is the year where hopefully we see Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome stay healthy for much of the season. Martin Emerson can continue to be the reliable shutdown outside corner he is. And I'm just willing to bet with, sure, some factual basis behind it, but a lot of just gut feeling telling me Browns aren't going to need help in the cornerback department, especially with the way the last season ended. Bad taste in their mouth. I think they're going to come out hungry and with a vengeance to redeem themselves from that Texans game. So I'm willing to bet on these three corners here to stay healthy, to be available, and to put together the best seasons of their NFL careers. So I'll turn it over to you guys watching, though. Should the Browns add a cornerback? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Give me your thoughts down below. I do want to know what you have to say about this one down in the comment section. We'll bring on producer Trizzy Trace to pick a card. Trace, which card do you want to go with?
Yeah, give me the 7 of hearts.
7 of hearts?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with, I wish there was a 19. I guess 1 plus 9, I'll go 10.
10, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'll
like
do
that.
10 of 10. He's 10 of 10. I'm going to go with 10 of hearts. No, not too far off, though. Queen of diamonds.
Okay.
Queen of diamonds. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to sign off, let you guys get back to the rest of your day. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed our video, and we'll see you all later.